I'm Alexandra Neyland, and I'm studying Employee Labor Relations at Liberty University. Next slide. I will be playing the role of an attorney for the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 10. I will be developing an argument to support my client's contention that the Council's rejection of Carol Fern's unpaid maternity leave request violated the collective bargaining agreement. But states, when the U.S. labor relations system works effectively, efficiency, equity, and voice are achieved through collective bargaining. Next slide, please. It should be taken into consideration that she has been a loyal employee for 18 years and decided to postpone her adoption to a later date because of the high tax season. It's important that she be granted maternity leave in case other unspecific issues arise where she needs to use the reasonable purpose leave. Another thing to consider is that the Bainbridge Borough Council rejected her leave by a close 4-3 vote. The case study states this request had to be approved by the Bainbridge Borough Council, which rejected the request by a 4-3 vote. However, the council did offer Fern 2 successive 90-day reasonable purpose leaves, amounting to 6 months of leave. Next slide. Bainbridge Borough should be required to use the same guidelines to all other companies. This can be done by using new technologies. For example, the smartphone and tablet FMLA Leave app will help human resources professionals and managers determine the number of days off employees have available. All adoptions should be treated equal to childbirth no matter the circumstances. Gordon, O'Connor, and Weiss state companies provided more financial support for adoption expenses, but there was no difference in duration of paid or unpaid leave for adoption. Next slide. Weaver states the term maternity leave refers to the time a mother takes off from work at the birth or adoption of a child. Maternity leave should be granted to any mother for the sake of their child to be bonded and cared for. Next slide. The U.S. Family and Medical Leave Act provides for 12 weeks of job-protected leave. 12 weeks of unpaid maternity leave is granted if you work for a company that employs 50 or more people, you've been employed with your employer for 12 months, and you have logged 1,250 hours during that time. Next slide. Collective bargaining is important to consider in order to maintain a prosperous business. In collective bargaining, representatives of the employer and the employees negotiate the terms and conditions of employment that will apply to the employees. The major subjects of bargaining are compensation, personnel policies and procedures, employee rights and responsibilities, unions' rights and responsibilities, dispute resolution, and ongoing decision-making. Next slide. My position in this case is to defend my client in order to receive maternal leave that is rightfully due, evaluate the client's need for reasonable purpose leave to be available for a child's needs in future, and to prove Bainbridge Borough is not being fair and equitable. Next slide. My plan of action is to investigate the company's discriminatory acts by figuring out who was offered maternity leave previously and to determine their tenure and whether it was offered for childbirths or adoptions. I will also figure out if there has been other issues complying with the law. I will prove that the collective bargaining agreement was violated by discriminatory practices against adoptive children. Next slide. In conclusion, the leave policy should be consistent for all companies and employees whether they are biological or adoptive parents. The collective bargaining agreement was violated and should be evaluated for future employees, and Fern should not be discriminated against and be granted her maternity leave. Thank you for your time.